Hello there.
Hey, how is it going today, ladies and fellas and ladies? Welcome back to the one and only channel on YouTube that features a white boy talking about stuff. So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different than what I usually do. Today I'm actually just going to be kind of going off the riff, going off-road, off the script. In fact, for this video I didn't even write a script. And the reason for that today is that I just kind of wanted to do a quick video where I just kind of go on a rant and give my thoughts about something. Not that that's not what I usually do, but I guess I'm going to do it today without thinking about it. So now that that's out of the way, I'm just going to tell you that we're going to be talking about a little show from Marvel called Ekko. Now Ekko, if you don't know, is a Marvel Spotlight show that was on Disney Plus that released all at once, unlike their usual Disney Plus Marvel stuff. Usually things on Disney Plus that are either like Marvel or Star Wars are released week-to-week episodes. And the reason for that, if you've actually been wondering, is so that it stays in the cultural zeitgeist longer. If you delay the actual release of something and spread it out over time, obviously it's going to take longer for that to fade away. It's the same reason they do it for shows like Invincible and The Boys on Amazon Prime. Which, really quick, I'm still pissed at Amazon for adding ads to their Prime Video. Literally the richest company in the fucking world. It doesn't need to add ads. It could actually subtract some ads, if you know what I'm saying. But anyways, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Ekko. So Ekko is a show that was based on a Marvel Comics character, obviously, by the name of Ekko. Ekko in the comics was this kind of like cold, skilled, complicated, newer character that kind of just relies on her ability to mimic other people's fighting styles. So just think if she like went against people like Shang-Chi or like Iron Fist or Daredevil or Elektra, like she could go toe-to-toe with them. Like that's her power. She actually has the same abilities as Taskmaster, except Taskmaster like forgets other memories while he's learning the techniques. It's weird. Ekko is also, it's important to note, a deaf person both in the comics and in the show. However, in the show, she has an amputated leg, so she has an artificial leg. In the comics, she doesn't have that. So Ekko actually gets her start working for the Kingpin, who is like kind of her uncle, sort of, like not through blood, but through like association with her dad. Like her dad is really close friends with the Kingpin and is also a gangster, so he's like her uncle, kind of. So in the comics and the show, basically, Kingpin has her father killed, and then blames it on a hero. In the show, he blames it on Ronan, who actually did kill her dad, but it was because of information that he got from the Kingpin. Like the Kingpin leaked information and then Ronan got it, and then Ronan killed him.
Your boss wanted your father dead.
Wow. What a twist.
Because if you remember, Ronan is actually Hawkeye, it's Clint Barton, and he kind of goes on like a rampage killing every criminal that he can find because like a bunch of innocent people were killed by Thanos during the snap, so he wants to like balance the scales. I think he even says in Endgame that like half the world got Thanos, you get me. And then he just like brutally stabs and slices people. And in the comics, Ekko does have an association with Ronan, but not in that way. In the comics, she actually becomes Ronan. She might even be the first person to take the Ronan identity, I'm not sure. But also in the comics, she is told by Kingpin that Daredevil was actually the one who killed her father, which of course is wrong. Kingpin killed her father. So basically, he kind of like sends her after Daredevil to kill him to get him out of the way. Anyway, back to the point. So in the show, you would expect Daredevil to have a big role like he does in the comics, because like I said, in the comics, he sends her after Daredevil, and she learns that Kingpin is the one who actually killed her dad. So anyway, when she finds out that Kingpin was the one who had her father killed, she goes and finds him and shoots him in the face, which she also does in the comics. She thinks that she has killed him, but obviously the audience doesn't believe that because he's got to show up in other stuff. And then this year, the show Ekko that's actually focused on her comes out. And in all the promotional material for Ekko, Daredevil and Kingpin are both heavily featured in it. It was actually really big news because it showed like footage and clips from the Daredevil show that was on Netflix, which I know that I've talked about it before, but it really is like the best show I've ever seen. You've got to watch it if you haven't. But anyway, the teaser for Ekko that featured them, like the big one, solidified that Daredevil did take place in the MCU because it's like a previously in these adventures, here's what happened. And it also announced that Ekko was gonna be TVMA rated, just like Daredevil was. And so I was just like extremely excited for it, especially because it wasn't getting attention like pretty much at all. It actually reminded me a lot of how Disney and Star Wars treated Andor, really, because it was one of those shows that everybody was like, really? Why? Okay, I guess. I don't know why this is getting a release, but all right. And then Disney didn't give it a whole lot of attention, and the people were able to try really hard to make it, and then it was really good. And I theorized that's what was going to happen to Ekko.
Oh my god.
So
And it also featured some of the people who did actually create Daredevil, the show. I also really liked the Hawkeye show. It's nowhere near the caliber that Daredevil is, but I did think it was really good, and I liked Ekko and Kingpin in it. I mean, Kingpin is always good when played by Vincent D'Onofrio. He's amazing. And I liked the way that they introduced Ekko, and I liked what they did with her in the Hawkeye shows. Point is, I was just really excited for Ekko. I know that I shouldn't have, but I had really high hopes for it, and this is the point of the video that I'm making. It was extremely, extremely disappointing. I hyped it up for like 2 months to my friends and family that this was going to be amazing. I told everybody, like, you gotta watch Daredevil, you gotta watch Hawkeye, get caught up, and then watch Ekko with me. Not that anybody did, because nobody likes to listen to old Tristy's advice on TV shows, but well, I mean, I guess they're right on this one. So Ekko in the show is played by a woman by the name of, I believe it's Alaqua Cox, not any relation to Charlie Cox, the actor of Daredevil. So one of the big things that I noticed, at least visually, that I assume a lot of other people probably noticed, is that she's missing a huge identifier for her character. So the Ekko in the comics, when her dad died, he kind of like puts his hand to like touch her face and leaves behind like a bloody handprint. So when she goes hunting for Daredevil, she takes, I guess, white face paint and like draws a handprint across her face. In the show, that was completely missing, which is weird because in the show, her dad did the handprint thing. He put his hand on her face and left a bloody handprint. And then I guess she just washes it off and is like, whatever. Which I guess isn't that weird, but it's just weird to me because that's a big thing that identifies her as the white handprint on her face. Like, obviously people who are creating TV shows can take creative liberties. For example, like Civil War is very different from comic Civil War. Infinity War is also pretty different from comic Infinity War. Like, they don't have to follow everything to a T. It's just a weird thing to not include. Like a big visual thing that identifies the character, you just took it away. It's weird. It'd be like if they made an Iron Man movie and then just didn't have the arc reactor at all. That's a big visual identifier for the character. Like, you can't just take that away and expect people to just kind of not give a shit. But I wish that was my biggest issue with the show because it is just so fucking disappointing. One of the biggest gripes that I have with the show is that it pretty much doesn't include Daredevil like at all. Now again, you are allowed to take creative liberties when you're making something, obviously, but that's a big part of the character is her involvement with Daredevil. But he's really only in the show for like 7 minutes, and it's a fight scene. There's no really even dialogue. Not to mention the little dialogue that they do have doesn't really make a lot of sense, and I'll tell you why. So right before the fight starts, he says this.
I've been watching them all night. And then you guys show up.
And that just makes me think, like, what? Because right before this fight scene, Ekko and the 2 guys that she's with kill a room full of people. So if Daredevil has been watching them all night, why the fuck didn't he step in? Why did it take him that long to get there? If he's been watching them all night, then he knows that something is bound to happen, so he needs to be ready to jump in. But instead, he just waits for 3 people to kill an entire room and then jumps in? What the fuck? That's not a very Daredevil thing to do. What the hell? So as I mentioned earlier, Ekko actually has the ability of photographic reflexes, which means that she can see somebody do something and then do that thing. Not with powers, but with like fighting skills. In the Disney Plus show, that is not her power. In the Disney Plus show, her power is to be able to draw from ancestors. What? So basically, she's able to draw from abilities that her ancestors used to have. So like, one of them is a woman with like extreme reflexes. One has really good throwing and shooting ability. Her mom had the ability to heal things just by touching them, which another really big part of her character in the show also is that she is a Choctaw Native American, which is also different from the comics because in the comics, she's actually a Cheyenne Native American. Now, I'm not really going to speak on that because I'm not Native American, so I don't really have that perspective. So I can't really speak on the aspect of like Native American representation. That's obviously not something that I have a problem with. However, I'm just a white guy talking about issues, so it doesn't really matter what I think in that regard. So I'm going to move on to some other stuff. The other big issue I have with them changing her power set is that they have already done that before. With Kamala Khan Miss Marvel, they completely changed her powers. But with Miss Marvel, at least I kind of like understand why they did it. It's because they are really close to having Fantastic Four, and Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, has the exact same powers as Kamala Khan, so they want to like save that for him. With Ekko though, they did have Taskmaster already introduced in the MCU, but they didn't really do anything with him, or with her. It's a woman in the movie, but it's a guy in the comics. Like, they had Taskmaster in the Black Widow movie, and then the character just drops off the face of the earth and hasn't been introduced again. So if they're not going to do much with that character, then it doesn't really matter if Ekko has the same powers. Not to mention, in the MCU, Taskmaster has that ability because of their armor. Like, you actually see in the Black Widow movie that Taskmaster has like a camera on top of her head, and then the suit that Taskmaster is wearing is able to replicate those abilities. So if they had just stuck with comic Ekko's powers, it would have been different enough. I just don't know why they did it, and it annoys the shit out of me. Also, with Kamala, she can still do the same things with the powers that she has in the MCU that she can do in the comics. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, her powers right now is that she can make hard light constructs. So like, if she wants to make like stretchy arms or a big hand, she can just do that with the hard light constructs. Like, she can just make a big hand or a big arm. But with Ekko, she can't replicate abilities. I mean, she kind of can, I guess. She can replicate her ancestors' abilities, but she can't do what Daredevil does with her current powers in the MCU. She can't do what the Iron Fist or Shang-Chi do in the MCU with her current powers. But to move on to other issues that I had with the show, one really big one that I have, in this show, they kind of just made Kingpin like a generic villain with ties to the hero. And while Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin is by no means bad in the show, it just feels kind of like a betrayal of his character, especially because in the finale, he's defeated in the dumbest way possible. So for some reason, another power that Ekko has in the show is she can go inside people's memories. And Kingpin, if you don't know, is kind of like driven by the anger and the pain that his father induced on him. And in the MCU, he killed his father with a hammer when he was beating his mom. So in the show, what Ekko does is she goes inside of Kingpin's mind into the memory of when he's about to kill his father, which by the way is also completely visually different from the Daredevil show, but I'm not gonna get into that, and is like, hey, I know you're in pain, I know you're afraid, but just let go. You're my uncle, I love you, you're not alone, just let go. And then I shit you not, back in the real world, Kingpin grabs Ekko and is like, what did you do? And then just fucking runs away, gets in a car, and is driven away. I still don't really get how she even defeated him. Did she erase his pain? There's no way that is what helped. And also, even if she did erase his pain, like in the post-credit scene of the show too, it shows that he's not over it. He's looking for another way still to control everybody, which is by becoming mayor like he did in the comics, but that's gonna happen later. It hasn't happened yet. It's just teased in the after credits. Now, the last two big issues that I have with the show were this. The Daredevil fight that I mentioned earlier is not very good. One of the biggest reasons that I love the Daredevil show so much is that it shows accurate combat. He is an amazing fighter with great skill, and the show showed that. But the Ekko show did not show that. The Ekko show honestly was just kind of like generic stunt choreography, and the reason for that being they didn't use the same fight and stunt choreographer that the Daredevil show did, who is critically underused, by the way. They are bringing him back for the Daredevil Born Again show, by the way, and I am so happy that they are. Oh my god. And the next big thing that I really don't like about Ekko is that it has a TVMA rating, but the only reason that it does is because it's like added CGI blood. There's no like extreme violence or like mature themes or scenes that would actually warrant a TVMA rating. It's just during fight scenes they add like very obvious CGI blood. Probably sound like a fucking psycho being like, I miss the gore and the killing. The blood. Now, before I go, I do want to actually talk about some things that I do like about this show. I don't want it to be completely negative. Now, the number one biggest thing that I like about this show is it does have Daredevil in it, so that's always a win. It has Kingpin in it. That's always a win. I'm so excited for Born Again. Alaqua Cox is really good. This may be a bad show that was really disappointing and I don't like it, but she is not bad in it. In fact, nobody is bad in it, to be honest. But my god, her acting as Ekko is amazing. The person who plays young Ekko is a perfect casting choice. Like, it's crazy how much they look alike. Like, she is believably a younger version of that character. It's crazy. And the reason they do look so similar is because they are actually related. It's like her third little cousin or something like that. The visuals for the intro and also the music is really good. I mean, you'll be hard pressed in Marvel to find a bad composer, but it's pretty good. I like it. Her cousin Biscuits, I just really like him in the show. He's a lot like me, I think. So anyways, I think that's going to be it for today, fellas and ladies. I just kind of really wanted to get my thoughts out there. I know that it's been out for like over a month, but I've just kind of been holding all this stuff in, and I really needed to rant to at least somebody about it, so I figured I'd film a video while doing that. So you're going to take my rants and you're going to listen to them, and you're going to like it, and subscribe to it, and comment on it. Also, if you've made it this far, I wanted to mention that my last video about Marquane Mullen is not doing good at all. So if you want to see more, go ahead and watch that. But that's going to be it for today, fellas and ladies. I hope I made you laugh. I hope I made you smile. And I will see you when I do this again. Bye.